expired. We have one public commenter, Syed Koshani.
Good morning, Commissioners. I wish to speak on the two litigation items in executive session and also general public comment. So I'd appreciate as much time as you can give me. My name is Syed Koshani. Until January 7, I lived in the Pacific Palisades, operative term being lived, till my house burned down. I apologize, I come to you dressed like this. I'm not used to going out in public dressed like this, but this is all I have to wear. So I apologize. I would like to remind the commissioners of a little history. When the St. Francis Dam collapsed, your director, William Mulholland, immediately resigned. He took full responsibility as leader of this organization. And I'm addressing Ms. Quinones for the failure of the organization.
Address the board, please.
For the failure of the organization. I call on this board to ask Ms. Quinones also to resign now, to honor the history of this organization and resign for her culpability in not delivering sufficient water to the Palisades. Why? As we know, the Santa Ynez Reservoir is, I believe, 115 million gallons and is the principal source of water for that area. That reservoir was drained by the department about a year ago. In all the meetings since then, the department CEO never reported to this commission regarding either the reservoir, its status, or any effort to repair. What did she report on? Well, I have here her comments made to this board in November.
And we're happy to report we're about 40% Hispanic in the organization. And so that's a huge number for our diversity metrics. LA is about 48% Latino. So we're getting close to representing the communities that we're serving.
So 49 days later, the city burned down. Your director is more interested in filling racial quotas than filling reservoirs. And that was clear from her own comments to this commission. Now, what is the commission's responsibility in this? When you approved the appointment of Ms. Quinones to direct the Department of Water and Power, you had not completed her background check. What would that check have shown? Ms. Quinones, among her other positions, was placed in charge of re-electrification of Puerto Rico after the Hurricane Maria. 1 year after appointment, 80% of the island was still without electricity. To this day, there are still blackouts and electricity on Puerto Rico. This is the legacy of Ms. Quinones' work. She went from there to PG&E, which we all know is a bankrupt utility that burned down half the state. And you appointed her as the director of the Department of Water and Power at double the prior director's salary and a housing allowance without completing any background check. Now let's talk about the reservoir. I've looked at your agendas since Ms. Quinones was appointed. The reservoir never came up once. You never discussed it, even though it's a critical piece of infrastructure. Let's look at history. In 2021, May, there was a major brush fire in the Palisades. But the reservoir at that time was full, it provided water, and the fire was controlled. There was very little structural damage. Why? Because there was water. This time, there was no water. Without the reservoir, the 3 tanks you have supplying the area, which I believe, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, only 1 million gallons each, are insufficient for any emergency situation. You need the 111 million gallons of water in the reservoir in order to supply the area. That was drained. It was empty. There was no water. And your director never reported to you this situation or its urgency. Instead, again, filling racial quotas instead of filling the reservoir. Let's look at money. The excuse given was that you needed some kind of delay to get money together, I don't know, contract, whatever, to fix some tear in the cover of the reservoir. That cost was $140,000. You drained the reservoir in February, didn't even approve the contract, not you, not the commission, but the DWP, did not even approve the contract to repair until November. It's a gap of 8 months. Reservoir was sitting empty all that time. Cost of repair is only $140,000. That is less than 1/5 of Ms. Quinones' salary. And you wouldn't pay it to repair the reservoir and get the water back online. What did you spend money on during that time? Well, one of the things you spent money on is you approved $5 million. You as a board, you approved $5 million to pay to out-of-state colleges to transfer students from California universities to out-of-state colleges, including the alma mater of one of your commissioners. Why are you paying $5 million to out-of-state colleges and you won't pay $100,000 to fix our reservoir? These questions have to be answered. So until a satisfactory explanation is provided for these things, I suggest, and I call on this board to at the very least put Ms. Quinones on leave, unpaid leave, take away her house that you're paying for, and let her prove herself, and she can start by refilling the reservoir, which, as I understand, is still empty. So what is the explanation for this? There's been no explanation offered to the people of Palisades whose house is burned out. My neighbor on my street was fighting to save his house until 4 o'clock that afternoon when the water shut off. Why? Again, because the reservoir was empty.
Thank you. Your time's expired.
Thank you.
May I just speak? First of all, and I'm going to stand up. I am amazed that you have the composure that you have speaking to us. I thank you for that. I'm not trying to placate you. I'm not trying to placate anyone. But whether his facts are right or wrong is immaterial. You said what you thought. You spoke like a man. You spoke like a human. And you are putting points before us that personally I give a damn about, and I know all of our other commissioners. So the message here, personally, we will hear everything you say. But if you can compose yourself and speak as directly as this first speaker has done, we're all going to be better for it. And that is my message today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Could I close with a quote from Mr. Mulholland?
Quickly.
William Mulholland said, quote, "A true leader takes responsibility for their actions, both successes and failures."